تمام؟ طيب الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على خاتم الأنبياء والمرسلين وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له له الملك وله الحمد وهو على كل شيء قدير وإليه المصير وأما بعد. Last week we started looking into the interpretation of Surah Al-Baqarah, and as we were sitting right now, Tariq was asking me, what surah are we going to talk about today? And I said, Al-Baqarah still. And there is a reason. When we left last week, I was intending to make a change so that we have a little bit of a pace with the Quran. Of course, if we stay with Al-Baqarah and we focus on 286 ayah by ayah, it will take us a lot of time. And since we're only gathering once a week, we are just getting an overview. So what we're presenting is not Tafsir Surah Al-Baqarah, it's just some khawatir, some ideas about Surah Al-Baqarah. And the reason why I decided, this is the answer to your question, is that after the presentation last Friday, one of you came up to me and he asked me a very simple question. He said, is that it for Surah Al-Baqarah? And I felt actually guilty. In his question, there was an insinuation that this is supposed to take more attention. At least we give it one more session, inshallah, today. And what I want to present to you are the ayat that we recited in the Isha. So in the first rak'ah, we recited the ayat 257, 58, and 59 of Surah Al-Baqarah. Allah waliyyu alladhina amanu. Allahu waliyyu alladhina amanu. يخرجهم من الظلمات إلى النور والذين كفروا أولياؤهم الطاغوت يخرجونهم من النور إلى الظلمات أولئك أصحاب النار هم فيها خالدون. Wali. What is wali? In the Arabic language, the definition of a wali is a sort of a guardian, an ally with a special tie to the person. Not just an ally, but an ally with a special tie. For example, a young lady who is getting married, her father is her wali. He takes care of the arrangements, he talks to the other side and so forth. Supports her, takes care of her. Allahu waliyyu alladhina amanu. And you will find in the Quran Al-Kareem many times association between wali wa nasir. ما لهم من ولي ولا نصير. And whenever things like that appear in the Quran, you should realize that there is a distinction. Wali wa nasir معطوفين أحدهم على الآخر. So this and that, right? This and that. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says this and that, then of course the two are not the same. مش كده؟ Then it defeats the purpose. العطف ما يبقاش له معنى. But because Allah says wali wa nasir, then nasir is slightly different than wali. But they both have a shared common ground in the meaning. Linguistically, they have a shared common ground of that guardianship sense. The distinction, however, is that when you talk about a nasir, the nasir does not have to have this special tie to the person. Yani, you can call on a nasir whom you don't have any relation to, but he can come and support you. So it's called a nasir. It's different from the wali, right? The wali is al-mu'minuna بعضهم أولياء بعض. So that's why we don't have a blood tie relation. Oh yes, we do. إنما المؤمنون إخوة. So there is this extra tie between believers. طيب. الله ولي الذين آمنوا يخرجهم من الظلمات إلى النور. Allah will get them from the darkness to the light. And of course, another linguistic finesse here is the fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says al-dhulumat in the plural form and then says An-Nur in the singular form. So why is that? And the reason is the fact that there are so many ways to get you into the darkness, and there is only one way to get you in the light. مش كده؟ Similar to that is the saying of المولى عز وجل وأن هذا صراطي مستقيما فاتبعوه ولا تتبعوا السبل فتفرق بكم عن سبيل. يبقى الصراط المستقيم is one. Many other subul that can lead you astray are infinite. That's why you will always find the association between darkness and light. Darkness coming in a plural form, light always coming in a singular form. And the opposite happens with the other group of people. وَالَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا أَوْلِيَاؤُهُمُ الطَّاغُوتُ. The disbelievers have a guardian also, but it is a shaitan, وَالْعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ. نعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. يخرجونهم من النور إلى الظلمات. The other way around. They take them from light and lead them to darkness. A quick also linguistic finesse here is الطاغوت. الطاغوت, when it happens or appears in the Quran Kareem, it can be understood to mean a singular form and it can mean a plural form. Because in this ayah in particular, Allah is saying أولياؤهم الطاغوت. He didn't say يخرجهم. He says يخرجونهم. Then the taghut in this ayah is plural. طيب. Other plurals for a taghut are found elsewhere in the Quran. Tawaghit is another form of the plural. But taghut itself, when it appears, it can lend itself to both the singular and the plural forms. يخرجونهم من النور إلى الظلمات أولئك أصحاب النار هم فيها خالدون والعياذ بالله. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala starts telling us a quick story about Ibrahim. ألم تر إلى الذي حاج إبراهيم في ربه. ألم تر. And when there is this inquisition in the Quran, ألم تر, the addressee has to be by default in parenthesis Ya Muhammad. He is always addressing Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, because this is who is getting the Quran. It's Rasulullah. So he's addressing the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. In the entire Quran, whenever you see that address, you put in place Ya Muhammad. قل إن كنتم تحبونها قل يا محمد. And so forth. ألم ترى, didn't you see يا محمد. ألم ترى الذي حاج إبراهيم في ربه, he who argued with Ibrahim about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We will talk about him, but first off, did Muhammad see that? When Allah is saying something about Ibrahim, Abu al-Anbiya, long ago. How can Allah say, Alam tara? Maybe, Alam tasma. You can hear stories of past times, right? Being perpetuated. That makes sense. But how about Alam tara? The scholars here tell you something that is quite interesting. That when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving you a piece of information, then it is more true than if you had seen it with your own eyes. You see? So therefore, there is liberty when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Alam tara. Indeed. ألم ترى كيف فعل ربك بأصحاب الفيل. Allah, that Muhammad was born in that year. He was an infant. Right? How did he see? No. He's being told by Allah what the story was. And this is better than him witnessing with his own eyes. Because it's from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. ألم ترى إلى الذي حاج إبراهيم في ربه أن آتاه الله الملك. Who is this guy? Who is this Malik? Who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had given him the leadership and the kingdom. Again, in most interpretations, it is referred to as An-Namrud. And he is in the lineage all the way of Sam ibn Nuh, descendant of Noah through Sam. And An-Namrud was a king who ruled for a monumental amount of time. And he had a huge kingdom, من المشرق والمغرب. But he was a disbeliever. And at the time when this dialogue took place between Ibrahim and Namrud, this was just right after Ibrahim had been put into the fire and come out unharmed. Amen. أن آتاه الله الملك. Why is this interpolation, أن آتاه الله الملك? The meaning would have still been acceptable if Allah said, ألم تر الذي حج إبراهيم في ربه. Bas, enough. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala puts a parenthetical statement here, أن آتاه الله الملك. And this is an important stipulation actually, because it tells you that whenever you have absolute power, you tend to go astray. In Surah Al-Alaq, when Mawla Azza wa Jalla says, after the opening ayat that were the first ayat that came onto Rasulullah, Iqra, he says what? كَلَّا إِنَّ الْإِنسَانَ لَيَطْغَى أَنْ رَآهُ اسْتَغْنَى. Verily, man would become a tyrant, become a transgressor, أَنْ رَآهُ اسْتَغْنَى, as soon as he feels his self-sufficiency. You see? That's how man is. And you probably may have seen examples of that in your own life. I have witnessed people who have grown from poverty to extreme wealth, and when they were poor, they were kind human beings, and when they were rich, wallahi, something happens and tyranny sets in. Now that they feel, I don't need anybody, I don't need anything. أن آتاه الله الملك إذ قال إبراهيم ربي الذي يحيي ويميت. It is my Lord who gives life and death. What did he say? قال أنا أحيي وأميت, muddying the waters. You're claiming that your God gives life and death? I have the power to give life and death. How so? Two prisoners who were condemned to be killed are brought in, and one of whose was executed, and the other was given a pardon. Therefore, I have the ability to give life and death decisions. Of course, it's a hollow argument if you see, because the follow-up argument from Ibrahim was to actually close that first argument. It was not a different argument, it was one continuation of the same argument. قال إبراهيم إن الله يأتي بالشمس من المشرق فأتي بها من المغرب فبهت الذي كفر والله لا يهدي القوم الظالمين. You see, a simple argument. This debate didn't take much. This debate was like ping pong, tak tak, finished, point gained by Ibrahim. After ربي الذي يحيي ويميت, then he says فإن الله يأتي بالشمس من المشرق فأتي بها من المغرب. This is the ability of Allah, this is the will of Allah. You want to prove otherwise? Show me that you can reverse the way of Allah. فبهت الذي كفر. وبهت هنا means stunned, means when you are presented with an argument to which you have no retort. فبهت الذي كفر. End of story. Allah يهدي القوم الظالمين. So this is the story of Namrud. And then Ibrahim left, and then for a long time Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would send to Namrud messages to become a believer, get to the righteous path, once, twice, and 3 times. And then when nothing works, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, at the time was the custom. Alhamdulillah, we are spared that, by the way, after يعني خاتم الأنبياء والمرسلين. There are no cosmic catastrophes that would come because of our sins. Unlike قوم عاد وثمود, Walut, and others. What happened to Namrud and his people? You'd be surprised of the tool of punishment that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had used. What was it? Flocks of mosquitoes. Mosquitoes. The most minuscule of all insects. But it had been coming through a gate to them that is like a flood. And it would eat up all the disbelievers' flesh and bones. And within Namrud, what had happened was that one of those had gotten inside his skull. People say inside through the nose, some people say through the ear, but it came inside of his skull and stayed alive inside of his skull and drove him crazy. And it is said that he would be hitting his own head with sledges just to get rid of this thing, and he couldn't until he died with this. أو كالذي مر على قرية وهي خاوية على عروشها. That again is يعني reference to the previous ayah about Ibrahim والملك والنمرود. Now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about another incident involving another person. On best accounts that you can see in historic references, it is يعني most scholars agree that it is Uzair. Uzair, Nabi min Anbiya Bani Israel. What happens there? أو كالذي مر على قرية وهي خاوية على عروشها. He passed by a village which was destroyed with no life. قال أن يحيي هذه الله بعد موته. He was wondering by looking at this. Is this ever going to come back to life? This dead village, is it ever going to come back to life? فأماته الله 100 عام ثم بعثه. Miracle. He took his life, he put him to death for 100 years and then resurrected him. قال كم لبثت? How long did you stay? He said لبثت يوما أو بعض يوم. A day or part thereof. قال بل لبثت 100 عام. No, you stayed for 100 years. Look at your food and drink that you have with you, and look at your donkey that you are riding. You find that the food and drink did not go bad. It's still good 100 years later. قدرة العلي القدير. But time had its effect on the donkey. The donkey was disintegrated and ended up being bones scattered in the vicinity. Tamam? So, this is the will of Allah. He can have the effect of time show on one item and not the other just next to it. And then he brings back that donkey to life. ولنجعلك آية للناس وانظر إلى العظام كيف ننشزها ثم نكسوها لحما. Look at the bones of this donkey, how we're going to, what's ننشزها? ننشزها من نشزة, and sometimes nashara means to bring it up together and put it in the form of a skeleton. Instead of scattered bones, it's now becoming in the form of the original donkey, only bones. Then what? ثُمَّ نَكْسُوهَا لَحْمًا. Then we flesh it out. With the veins and the muscles and the tendons and this and that becomes. And then Allah orders a Malik to come and instill ruh in that by blowing into its own nose. And the donkey comes back to life and makes its usual sound. Subhanallah. فلما تبين له قال أعلم أن الله على كل شيء قدير. I know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is capable of everything. تمام. عزير thought that he was gone for part of the day, not even a whole day. When that happened, it was in the morning of a given day. But then when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala resurrected him, it was towards the sunset of 100 years later. In his own mind, he thought this is the same day. It was the morning and this is the sunset of the same day. This is why he says, أو بعض يوم, part of a day. And for that, of course, we know the fact, physiological fact, that when we are asleep, we don't have consciousness of time. We cannot gauge time, right? Especially if you are in deep sleep, you cannot tell. If you have you shut your windows and everything else, and you have your shades down, and you wake up and look at 7 o'clock, you may think for a while, which 7 is it, right? Yeah. And that's because when we are asleep, we don't have that sense of time. The sense of time is only for the waking human beings. Same thing also with the dead. This one is dead. Who were asleep? إنهم فتية آمنوا بربهم وزدناهم هدى. They were not dead. أهل الكهف. Right? But they were asleep for the length of time that was mentioned in the Quran Kareem, 309 years. So the dead and the people who are asleep have no conscious of time, no sense of time. طيب. قال بل لبثت مئة عام. So, what is this town that he had passed by? Again, these are all, you get varying explanations. But the one that stands to the most test is the fact that it is Bayt al-Maqdis. Bayt al-Maqdis. And Bayt al-Maqdis was completely and utterly destroyed by another Babylonian king. By the way, Namrud was from Babel. This other guy who destroyed Bayt al-Maqdis was also from Babel. His name was Bukhtunsur. Bukhtunsur. And he destroyed Bayt al-Maqdis to the ground. And at the time, Uzair was passing by and looked at what he saw and said what he said. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala resurrected that town from the dead after 70 years of Uzair being asleep. And then 30 extra years pass by, and then he wakes up and sees a living town with people and hustle and bustle of daily lives and so forth. Namrud wa Bukhtunsur were two kings who were, وَالْعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ, disbelievers that were given extended kingdoms from al-Mashriq to al-Maghrib. The most kingdoms that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had given to disbelievers were to these two disbelievers, Namrud wa Bukhtunsur. And the most kingdoms that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had given to believers were to Sulaiman and Dhul Qarnayn. So, this is a story that tells us, what happens when you start looking into the Quran and Surah Al-Baqarah and you address the different aspects that a given story brings to your attention. These ayat are quite dear to my heart, and you might find me that reciting them a lot in Aisha at times, and that's why I wanted to present something of Surah Al-Baqarah, and I presented those to you at first now. And we also want to talk about the concluding ayat. The concluding ayat of Surah Al-Baqarah are the ones that we recited in the second rak'ah, also last week. لله ما في السماوات وما في الأرض وإن تبدوا ما في أنفسكم أو تخفوه يحاسبكم به الله. And then آمن الرسول أما رسول لا يكلف الله نفسا. These two ayat are of very special status in the Quran Kareem. And there are hadiths that عن أبي ذر and Rasulullah صلى الله عليه وسلم says that he who recites those two ayat in the evening, then they will suffice for him for the rest of the night. من قرأ الآيتين من سورة البقرة كفتاه ليلته. كفتاه ليلته. They're enough for him. Doesn't need to do any more. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, I have been given Khawatim Surah Al-Baqarah, the concluding ayat of Surah Al-Baqarah, directly by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Al-Mi'raj. Directly. So the entire Quran comes to Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam through Jibreel, Wahi Sama, except for the concluding ayat of Surah Al-Baqarah. They were given directly by Allah to Muhammad standing in front of him in Al-Mi'raj. He says, from a treasure under the throne of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. These ayat are coming. Al-Mi'raj is in Sidrat al-Muntaha. And Sidrat al-Muntaha is mentioned in the Quran al-Kareem. إِذْ يَخْشَى السِّدْرَةَ مَا يَخْشَى. And that happens to be in the seventh heaven, Sama al-Sabi'ah. So these are very special ayats. If we can just look at them, inshallah, we have plenty of good. And if we recite them tonight before we go to bed, as we go to bed, wallahi bakhair. A couple of pointers here about this. These two ayat are as follows. لله ما في السماوات وما في الأرض وإن تبدوا ما في أنفسكم أو تخفوه يحاسبكم به الله. That measure of accountability is a very difficult measure. Allah is saying what? وَإِن تُبْدُوا مَا فِي أَنفُسِكُمْ أَوْ تُخْفُوهُ يُحَاسِبُكُم بِهِ اللَّهُ فَيَغْفِرُ لِمَن يَشَاءُ وَيُعَذِّبُ مَن يَشَاءُ. Whether you make it evident what's inside of your chest or you keep it hidden, Allah will judge you by it. Allah will judge you by what's inside of you. And then He will forgive whom He chooses and He punishes whom He chooses. SubhanAllah. By the way, when this ayah was revealed upon Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, the Sahaba were very saddened because they knew what this ayah is saying. It's saying that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to judge you for what's inside of you. And we all know that there is a lot that's inside of us that we don't really want to be revealed to others, let alone to be judged by. It's a very difficult measure here, Mustafa, isn't it? A very difficult measure. And they were saddened until in the following ayah, and Mawla Azza wa Jal says what? لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا وسعها. Easing off of that previous mandate, وإن تبدوا ما في أنفسكم أو تخفوه يحاسبكم به الله. Now He's easing off that hukm, that legislation above, by saying لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا وسعها. Allah shall not burden you with that which is more than you can handle. Which is a very important message to all of us. Because sometimes we are giving up because of the tests or the ibtila that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala puts upon us. And you might say even, I can't take all of this. You don't want to say that because that contradicts what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying in the ayah. لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا وسعها. When Allah puts an ibtila upon your shoulder, He knows that you can carry through that. He knows that you can handle that. تمام؟ لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا وسعها. But then He says what? لها ما كسبت وعليها ما اكتسبت. Now there is a huge transformation between this ayah and the one above. وإن تبدوا ما في أنفسكم أو تخفوه. لها ما كسبت وعليها ما اكتسبت. Meaning what? Meaning now the accountability is upon what? The deeds. not what's inside of the hearts or the chests. No, the deeds. لها ما كسبت. لها ما كسبت meaning of good deeds. وعليها ما اكتسبت meaning of bad deeds. You see? Then you will always find that كسب واكتسب are associated with الخير والشر. You see? لها ما كسبت وعليها ما اكتسبت. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not judge us except by our deeds. And this is why Hadith al-Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says what? من هم بحسنة ولم يفعلها كتبت له حسنة ومن هم بسيئة ولم يفعلها كتبت له حسنة. You see? So if the first ayah were still holding, then ومن هم بسيئة فلم يفعلها, it would have been a سيئة. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is giving us a glad tidings by saying, if a bad deed occurs to your inside of your chest and you hold it back, you're going to be given a hasana instead. You see? Now, this is an example of what is known as النسخ في القرآن. النسخ في القرآن. Supersession. So an ayah comes to supersede another ayah in the Quran al-Kareem. And it's always associated with al-ahkam. Yani it's never associated with mu'amalat or akhlaq. It's always associated with ahkam. So in this ayah, we have a state of nasakh that is clear as we have explained. And scholars tell us that, again, there is a wide range of discussion about the nasakh in the Quran. Some scholars go as far as saying that there is no nasakh. All the Quran verses are standing on their own and there is no such thing as a nasakh. And then of course, when you get to meanings that are contradicting as such, there has to be a reconciliation through nasakh, right? And then they differ about how many ayat in the Quran Kareem have been superseded. كم آية منسوخة في القرآن? And there is a lot of debate about that. They will say as little as maybe 20, and the most that they agree upon is around 249. 249 ayah that have legislation that has been superseded. And we just need to clarify that النسخ يكون حكما ولا يكون تلاوة. يعني we still recite the ayat that have been superseded in the Quran al-Kareem as part of our ta'abbud. But the hukm has been changed, it's been altered because of another ayah that came and took place of that in legislation. Right? The most evident example of that, actually, although it's a little bit off the track, but let me just give it to you as well, fast, is related to how alcohol became prohibited in the Quran. You see? You start with the ayah of Surah Baqara, and then an ayah of Surah Al-Nisa, and then an ayah of Surah Al-Ma'idah, until you get to the point where none of that. You see? The first ayah in Surah Al-Baqarah would say what? يَسْأَلُونَكَ عَنْ الْخَمْرِ وَالْمَيْسِرِ. They'll ask you, يَسْأَلُونَكَ يَا مُحَمَّدْ عَنْ الْخَمْرِ وَالْمَيْسِرِ. قُلْ إيه يا محمد فيهما إثم كبير ومنافع للناس وإثمهما أكبر من نفعهما. They will ask you about the khamr and the maisir. Maisir is gambling. Khamr, booze. قُلْ فِيهِمَا إِثْمٌ كَبِيرٌ. There is a great sin in them. وَمَنَافِعُ لِلنَّاسِ. And benefit to people. But notice that when Allah uses the adjective kabir, it's associated with the ithm. And didn't say manafi' kabira. Right? To show that the ithm is big and the manafi' is little in this case. فيما اسم كبير ومنافع للناس. How would there be منافع للناس? Go ahead and open yourself a bar downtown Walnut Creek. You will make money. You will make money. Right? So there is a benefit. But at that time, the signal was that it's more bad than good. And Allah left it at that. And then gradually comes Surah An-Nisa, wherein Mawla Azza wa Jalla says what? يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا تقربوا الصلاة وأنتم سكارى حتى تعلموا ما تقولون ولا جنوبا إلا عابر سبيل حتى تغتسلوا. الله, المولى عز وجل is talking to المؤمنين, يا أيها الذين آمنوا, and telling them, you shall not approach your prayer while you're drunk. Allah, Sahaba النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم would pray and would drink, yes, because drinking was a cultural part of their life. It was an inherent part of their life, just exactly like the Western world today. You look around you, you walk into Safeway, you will find a few racks of milk, but whole aisles of wine and everything else, right? And to the Western community, there is no good time that can be had without booze. That was the same thing then with the Arab. They were big drinkers in the Jahiliyyah. And now Islam is coming and wants to take them away from this practice. Cannot take it away just like that, because it's a habitual thing that you really need to extract them from step by step. So Mawla Azza wa Jalla says, if you're drunk, don't go to pray. And there are reasons for that. Mawla Azza wa Jalla sent those ayat because on one of the prayers, on best accounts it was the Maghrib, one of the Sahaba was reading the prayer and recited Surah Al-Kafirun and made a mess of it because he was drunk. Made a big fiasco of the surah. So therefore, Mawla Azza wa Jalla says, no, don't do that. حتى تعلموا ما تقولون. That's why the ayah is saying, until you know what you're saying. حتى تعلموا ما تقولون. So that's the second step. By the way, when the first ayah of Surah Al-Baqarah was revealed upon Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Sayyidina Umar said, Allahumma bayin lana fil khamri bayanan shafiyan. Oh Allah, give us a clear mandate about booze, because فيها ما إثم كبير ومنافع للناس is really quite loose. You see? When he heard the ayah, he made the dua. And by the way, Umar ibn Khattab, he himself, just like the rest of the community, he was a heavy drinker as well. The fact of the matter is that on his day he became a Muslim, when he left his house, he was coming out to look for his drinking buddies to sit and have their... But Allah had other plans for this man. Subhanallah. Subhanallah. You may be intending to go and do a bad deed, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala intends for you just the opposite of that. That is if He really loves you. If He really loves you. And that happened with Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam before al-Ba'sa, when he was a young man, and people would be having things going on in Mecca, parties and the like, and he was, on one time, he left his sheep with another friend of his, and he said, I'm going to go and see what's going on there, to have some fun in Mecca. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't want him. This is not for Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, even before al-Ba'sa. So he was distracted by a wedding along the way, and he stood there and watched the wedding until he fell asleep. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala preserved him. Awesome. Now, Allahumma bayyana fil khamri bayanan shafiyan. Umar makes the dua when the second ayah comes also. La taqrabu as-salata wa antum sukar. Because it means what? It means that you can drink, but not during the like the common Western mandate, don't drink and drive. Don't drink and pray. Time. But that leaves the door wide open still. So in Surah Al-Ma'idah then comes what? Then comes the definitive. The definitive ayah where Mawla Azza wa Jalla says, إنما الخمر والميسر والأنصاب والأزلام رجس من عمل الشيطان فاجتنبوه. We put all four together, Khamr, Maisr, Ansab, wal Azlam. This is a filth of shaitan. You shall steer away from it. فَاجْتَنِبُوهُ. You see? إنما يريد إنما يريد الشيطان أن يوقع بينكم العداوة في الخمر والميسر ويصدكم عن ذكر الله. مش كده؟ فهل أنتم منتهون? Should you not give it up? Now when Umar listens to the ayah, he says, انتهينا يا رب. That's it. No more. You see? رجس من عمل الشيطان. رجس من عمل الشيطان. خلاص. Prohibited. And when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَاجْتَنِبُوهُ, فَاجْتَنِبُوهُ, يجتنب to stay away from. يجتنب means to stay away from. And the root then boils down to al-jan, the next door, the next to you is jambak. And when you are not ready to pray because of intimacy situations, then you are in a state of janaba. You are junub, right? You cannot come to the prayer. You are besides the prayer, this form, this physical form. فَاجْتَنِبُوا. On one occasion, one of our friends came and said, Al-Khamr is not haram. I said, what? And he said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, إنما حرمت عليكم الميتة والدم ولحم الخنزير. مش كده؟ وما أهل به لغير الله. He didn't say حرمت عليكم الخمر. And he actually hands me over a mushaf. And he says, show me in the Quran a verse that says حرمت عليكم الخمر. And I didn't fall for the trap, and I said, I don't need the Quran from you, because I know that there is no ayah in the Quran that says حرمت عليكم الخمر. But if you have the sense of the language clear in your mind and in your heart, you would know that فَاجْتَنِبُوهُ in the ayah of Surah Al-Ma'idah is more severe than the tahrim. Is more severe than حرمت. Because al-ijtinab meaning you have to stay away from that vicinity, that proximity in its entirety. Right? Yani, I know that, for example, I used to teach up north in the College of Marine in Kentfield many years ago. And I had to go through the Richmond Bridge and drive through a street in Richmond called Cutting Boulevard. You know Cutting Boulevard?
Yeah.
One miserable street. Miserable. You look at the entry doors of the houses, with bullet holes, and so I would drive there. Yeah, I want to get out of it as fast as I can. If I know that one of my kids is driving in the vicinity of Richmond for some reason, I'm not going to tell him. I can tell him the statement as follows, one of two ways of telling him the statement. Don't drive through Cutting Boulevard, right? That's tahrim al-mubashir. Clear mandate of not prohibition, of prohibiting. But if I tell him, don't even come near Cutting Boulevard, is that not even more powerful? Don't even come to the vicinity. Drive elsewhere. Take another detour away from this. That's ijtinab al-khamr. And that if you understand the Quran and the Arabic, you know that that's a far more prohibitive statement than التحريم المباشر. مش كده؟ Again, this is a side track, but it took us a little bit to, and we'll come back now to the mainstream about the supersession in the Quran Kareem. الناسخ والمنسوخ. إن تبدوا ما في أنفسكم versus لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا وسعها. لها ما كسبت وعليها ما اكتسبت. Only the deeds. Only the deeds. And this is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, through his messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam teaches us that you should not judge except by the appearances. عليكم بالظاهر والله أعلم بالباطن أو بالبواطن. You are not going to know what's inside the other person's heart. All you can say is, Wallahi, I see him praying with us in Isha. Right? نحسبه على خير. That's all you can say. Or Wallahi, I see him in situations that are not that may Allah give him hidayah. Something along those lines. لا ما كسبت وعليها ما اكتسبت. Now, and then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us the dua, the beautiful dua that ends the surah. ربنا لا تؤاخذنا إن نسينا أو أخطأنا. And that's a very important dua. If we forget, or if we by mistake do something, by mistake أخطأنا, don't judge us by that. Don't judge us by oversight or by mistakes that are unintentional. ربنا لا تؤاخذنا إن نسينا أو أخطأنا. This is the same thing that the hadith of the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, ورفع عن أمتي النسيان وما استكره عليه. That this ummah shall not be judged by that which became forgetful or that which they were forced to do. Right? If you're forced to do something that is not along the path of Allah, Allah will not punish you for that. Right? And the famous story about Ammar ibn Yasir is well known. When they would persecute him in Quraysh, and all they wanted of him to say is that kalimat al-kufr. He was saying La ilaha illallah. And they would keep punishing him until he's physically breaks down and says the word of al-kufr wal-'iyaz billah. And then he would feel horrible and he would go to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and he said, Rasulullah, they kept doing this to me until I said it. And Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam asked him, and what is inside of your heart? He said, La ilaha illallah. You know what the Nabi says to him? In aadu fa'ud. If they do it again to you and they want you to say the kalimat al-kufr, then say it. So long as your heart has La ilaha illallah in it. Istiqrar. وما استكرهوا عليه. There is no punishment for that which has been forced. Nisyan. رفع عن أمتي النسيان. Right? And the other hadith says that you are not judged if you are sleeping. Say you overslept and you missed the Maghrib. It is not like somebody who was awake and didn't pray the Maghrib. Right? A state of sleep is something else. Then there is a restitution for that one. Now one nisyan, and of course somebody who has lost his mind until if he regains it. رفع القلم عن ثلاث. That's the hadith. There is no judgment for these three. طيب, when you sleep and you wake up and you have missed the salah, what do? من نام عن صلاة أو نسيها فليصليها ليس لها كفارة إلا ذلك. That's the hadith. There is no other restitution than you should just make the salah whenever you remember that you have missed it, by sleeping or by oversight. You were at work and your boss gave you an assignment and you were into it, and if all of a sudden al-Asr came and you didn't pray the Dhuhr, خلاص, you pray the Dhuhr back when you remember it. طيب, لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا وسعها لها ما كسبت عليها ما اكتسبت. ربنا لا تؤاخذنا إن نسينا أو أخطأنا. ربنا ولا تحمل علينا إصرا كما حملته على الذين من قبلنا. Al-Isr, what is Al-Isr? Al-Isr is the heavy burden. The heavy burden. Oh Allah, don't put on our shoulders a heavy burden, the same way that you did to other people before us. ولا تحملنا ما لا طاقة لنا به. And don't put upon us that which we cannot bear. ما لا طاقة, that which we have no energy or ability to withhold. And then Allah concludes with واعف عنا واغفر لنا وارحمنا أنت مولانا فانصرنا على القوم الكافرين. The conclusion of Surah Al-Baqarah, the last ayah. Ayat that were from a treasure from under the throne of Al-Mawla Al-Ali Al-Qadir, delivered by Allah to Muhammad. By Allah to Muhammad. No intermediary. واعف عنا واغفر لنا وارحمنا. The scholars will tell you, اعف عنا is يعني Allah, oh Allah, don't punish us for that which, those sins that are between us and you. Between us and you. Because there are sins that are between you and Allah, and then there are sins that are between you and your fellow man. Al-af is for those sins that are between you and Allah. Allah ya'fu anhu. And ya'fu, meaning, again, in the language of in the Arabic language, al-afu huwa al-mahu, to erase. To erase. Yani, it is not going to be even in your records. Khalas. Allah will wipe it clean. Right? This is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, like يُبَدِّلُ اللَّهُ سَيِّئَاتِهِمْ حَسَنَاتٍ. Those sayyat will be transformed to hasanat, subhanallah. طيب واغفر لنا. That one, forgive us, which means again, غفر meaning covered, not show. Which means then, for those sins that we have committed towards others, oh Allah, cover those for us, so that our bad sides are not seen by others. So that our bad sins are not seen by others. واغفر لنا وارحمنا. And then comes the rahmah. And the rahmah, mercy, happens to always follow al-maghfirah. Right? And you ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for what comes down the line to be on your side so that you do not fall back into the sin again. دعاء فيما يستقبل. And Ibn Kathir says, Al-Abd needs all these three. You need Al-Af, you need between you and Allah, you need Al-Maghfirah between you and your fellow man, and you need Al-Rahmah from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so that He would have mercy upon you. And always, always in the Quran Kareem, invariably, you will find Al-Maghfirah coming to precede Al-Rahmah. Ghafurun Rahim. Except in one ayah where it's reversed and Rahim becomes before Ghafur. But in the rest of the ayat, it's always Ghafur Rahim. Because Rahmah always follows the Maghfirah. Maghfirah meaning, khalas, Allah covered that sin for you. He's not gonna punish you for it. Then that has to precede the Rahmah. The Rahmah cannot come when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is still having that dhanb standing. Right? He has to forgive that, and then He would give you mercy. These are the ayat of Surah Al-Baqarah, the concluding ayat of Surah Al-Baqarah. آمن الرسول ولا يكلف الله نفسا إلا وسعها. Recite them when your head is on the pillow, inshallah, at night. They will suffice you for the rest of the night. And by that, I think we can, inshallah, hope to move on next Friday to another surah and get our thoughts about it. And we are in good time now to open up the floor for discussions. And for that, maybe we can just conclude our recording and have the discussion free for everybody that way. Barakallah fik ya Sheikh Said.